What do we get for $10?
Everything you want.
Everything?
Everything.
You ever feel like a prostitute with a client negotiating your value? And then you realize to them, there is no value? Little story time. Last night I'm at home editing some pictures, just kind of doing my thing. And I get a message from a friend back in Oregon, and she asked me very sincerely, hey, is $75 a good price to do for a maternity shoot? And I was thinking, what? No, it's not a good price. It's not good for the client, and it's not good for you, the professional photographer, or even an amateur photographer at that point. Although I'd argue once you're starting to get paid for things, you're now professional. Here's the deal. You, the professional, have to teach the client your value, because they don't understand what goes into photographing their event or their moment in time. They will present to you what they want, or sometimes they don't. And then they will tell you your value. Hey, could you do this for $75? Could you do it for $10? Could you do it for experience? This will be really good for your portfolio, so on, etc. You know, whatever cheap aspect that they want to throw out, that is where they see the value, because nobody has shown them why photography is valuable. Now they see it and don't understand that they have a value invested in it. In this particular case with my friend, she sent me some pictures of what the client was asking for. And the client sent some professional maternity pictures. She sent pictures that I would charge a lot of money for. And I was thinking to myself, if I could go back in time to when I was just starting out, I would never take a job like that. And the reason why is because you are letting somebody else show you your value, or lack of value in this case. And so I'm going to break it down. I kind of told my friend in Oregon a few reasons why $75 is, it's an insult really, but let's split hairs and say $10 an hour is a value of somebody working a non-skilled job, such as fast food. And this is not an insult on fast food workers. I love you guys. I've been there. I was a fast food worker. What you got to ask yourself, where's the baseline if I worked a regular job? And let's say that's $10 an hour. Not counting the actual time doing the photography, you have to break it down into time spent talking to the clients, figuring out exactly what they want, how they want it, setting up a location, the gas and time to get to that location. What is that going to cost? The cost of your equipment that it'll take to get the pictures that they want. The cost of the experience that you have in photography that led you to have them want you to take pictures of them. So breaking that down, time involved. Well, there's more than just, hey, I got this phone call. Hey, could you do this photo shoot? I got $75, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be real quick. It's going to be real easy. I've heard it all. Well, it's never quick and it's never easy. If you want it quick and easy, you wouldn't hire a professional. You know, I just had to hire somebody to fix some stuff on my house. I am not a plumber. I'm not a general contractor, and I don't pretend to be. I got the quote back yesterday, and for something that I do understand the cost of goods and the time that they have invested and how long it'll take to do the job. And I got the quote back and it was high. And at first, like every other client, I'm like, ooh, I might have to find somebody that'll do it cheaper. But then I started thinking about my photography. And I don't want somebody to go look for somebody cheaper just for the sake of cheaper. Now, if somebody can do the same job for a better rate and they can prove that to me, great. But I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time searching to beat somebody's price when they took the time to go look at my problem and see if they could fix it. So we're going to have them work on our stuff, even though I think it's a little higher. But it equates to my photography, and it should equate to yours. Now, don't go with the most expensive one just for the sake of being an elitist and, oh, look at me, I have this expensive photo shoot that I'm not happy with, but I sure paid good money for it. That's on the client. The client needs to do some proper research to know if you're the right person. But when they go to hire you, if they're trying to negotiate, you're going to have to teach them. You're going to have to show them your value. So time involved. That's going to start with the conversation of, hey, can you take my pictures? That's the easy part. Then what you got is doing a little research. Finding out exactly if you're the right person for the job. You know, if they send you a bunch of pictures that you can't pull off, don't take the job, because you're actually teaching the client that you may not be the right person for the job, but you did it because you're trying to make some money, you know. And then that perpetuates that cheap photo experience. You know, people will go, well, it was cheap, you know, I get what I pay for, and they keep going. What we have to do is we have to show them we have a value. So doing our proper research, finding a location that's suitable. Now, if it's in your studio, that's another thing you got to add to the mix. Like, well, my studio costs me X amount of dollars per month, and I have to do X amount of photo shoots per hour, and this is what the studio costs me. You can do the math. Every situation is going to be a little different. But regardless, time invested is the first thing you have to look for. And so if it's where the photo is going to be at, whether it be in your studio, on location somewhere, whatever, then that's the first thing. Then the day of the shoot, you have to count in the travel time. How much gas does it take to get from point A to point B? And that's not counting wear and tear on your automobile. You know, getting oil changes and all that stuff. You know, those are the things that are hard to really quantify, but they're important to understand that there is a cost involved, and that may be how you come to your cost. You may have to elevate your costs just to cover that unknown. So you got time talking to the client, time researching where your photos are going to be, the way they want them to look, and if you can pull that off. Once that's done, then you got the time of actually doing the photo shoot. Let's say the photo shoot is an hour long. remember, your base rate, minimum wage, whatever, $10 an hour, $20 an hour. In California, I believe, some places $20 an hour for minimum wage. So depending where you're at, that base rate may change. But regardless, you got to figure out what your base rate is. I personally don't want to base my rate at minimum wage because I'm a skilled worker. I have something to bring to the table. I'm not showing up to a photo shoot with a little toy camera like this. I'm showing up to a photo shoot with a camera like this. Cost involved with this, maybe $50. Cost involved with this, as it's sitting in my hand, we're looking at about $7,000-$8,000 just in this, not counting anything else I'd bring, which I always bring a lot more than that. Do they want to hire a $50 photographer or an $8,000 photographer? So, where's your base rate? My base rate is much higher than minimum wage, but for argument's sake, let's say your base rate is $20 an hour. Hour for the photo shoot. Let's add another hour for scouting locations, time to get to the photo shoot, time spent with the client, figure out exactly what they want, so on and so forth. We'll speed that up. So now you got 2 hours into it. Well, that's $40 by my math if you were doing a base rate of $20 an hour. That's over half the cost of what they had pitched to my friend. And we haven't even got to the photo shoot yet. We haven't even done the actual work. Yeah, we might have showed up on location and snapped the pictures, but that's not where the work is. That's just part of it. Then you got an hour back, and to get settled in, you the gas money back and wear and tear, all that stuff, right? So you get back to your computer. The images are not done. They're in raw format if you did it right. And I'm going to address this really quick. Never give a client your raw photos. I'm just going to throw that out there. That is like giving a painter giving a client their set of paints and saying, okay, you finished the picture. That's not what they're paying you for. They're paying you for your art. Well, your art, but when you get back to your computer, is just starting. So now you have to cull all the images. If you don't know what culling is, it's going through them all and picking out your favorites, because you're not going to give them every picture you took. Why? Because more than likely, most of those pictures suck. That's just part of life. The best photographers in the world take a lot of shitty pictures. Do they show those shitty pictures off to clients? No, they don't, because that's not their art. That's the base of getting their creative juices flowing. Once you're at the computer and you cull through all your images and you say I'm just going to pick a random number, say 10 images that you like. Say for this, and that's part of the package that you sold them or whatever. They get 10 edited pictures for, in this case, $75. Well, now, after that culling process, that might have taken you, depending on how many pictures you took, and to narrow it down, that might have took you, say, an hour. So now you've got another hour. So by my math, that's 4 hours invested. 20, 40, 60, 80. Now you're over the amount and you're starting to make less than the minimum wage or your base rate. You haven't even edited the pictures yet. Those 10 pictures, really meticulous photographers that really are trying to make a great name for themselves and do really, really, really amazing work. They could spend hours on one image. But let's say on average, you spend 20 minutes on an image. And you offered them 10 images. So do the math. 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, there's an hour. That's 3 or 2, Now you're a few hours in, just in the editing process. And then you're going to deliver those products or those pictures, and they're going to want changes, inevitably. They'll be like, oh, could you edit out this? Or could you do that? Could you make me look skinnier? Could you, whatever it may be. They want you to go back to the drawing board and spend more time. Now, some photographers incorporate that in the price. They're like, okay, you get 10 images and X amount of revisions on that. Now, these photographers that do that are charging outrageous amounts. Not outrageous, excuse me. They're charging what they should be charging because they know it's not going to be as simple as, oh, these are awesome, and they're good with it. I very rarely have a client not at least ask if I could make a change to that. And it's usually stuff that has nothing to do with my photography, but it has to do with their insecurities. And they think the computer does all the work, so it's no big deal. No big deal. Time is money. So it's a huge deal. Do you value yourself? And if so, you gotta teach your client why you cost whatever it is that you cost. Time involved, cost of equipment, experience, gas, time, travel, so on, etc. You don't have to use this. You don't have to have a $2,500 lens and a $4,000 body and all the bells and whistles on here. You don't have to have that to get the same picture. But you're not going to get it with this. So, let's say I have this camera here. This camera body is 6 years old. I still use it every single day. It's a great camera. Originally, it was a few $1,000s. I can't remember what it is. I know that used, they're still selling for well over $1,000. Probably closer to $1,500. Not counting the lens. This lens that's on here is about $2,500. Used, it's about $2,000. I would use this, but do the math. $2,000 and $1,000, that's a $3,000 setup for just one lens, one camera. That's hard to pay for that, and the wear and tear and everything that you'd put on that camera gear. Hard to quantify being a photographer if you're willing to let the client dictate the price, and you're investing in yourself by trying to get these clients, but you're actually doing yourself and the client a disservice, because if you do the math, this camera here being 6 years old, and it still would cost well over $1,000, and then the lens choice. Let's say I rule that lens out. Let's say you use this lens. This is a 50mm prime lens. Now this particular one is not a budget lens. This one was the step up from budget, but they do make these lenses for about $200. I think sometimes you can get them for about $100. So this you could do anything with. Portraits, you could do weddings, you could do maternity shots, modeling, street photography, event photography, so on and so forth. So you got this for $100. Let's say you put it on a old body like this one down here, and that's still, say, $500. Now you have a $600 setup that would do a phenomenal job. Let's just get that out there. $600, you can show up and do professional quality stuff. Nobody knows what you shot the pictures on as long as you understand how to get the quality pictures. Now, I could hand somebody this, my R5 with the 85 millimeter 1.2 aperture lens. I can hand somebody this and they'll take shitty pictures, even though this is one of the best setups you're going to get. And I could pick up in turn a $500 setup, put a $100 lens on there, and get a picture that looks very similar to what I'd get with that. So nobody knows what you take the picture with. I can't quite get the shots of this, okay? Although this is fun, you know, it's a toy you put in your pocket. It's not a realistic professional setup. So let's say, you know, you're using your $600 setup. How many shoots does it take to pay for that setup at $75? Not just the shoots, but you got to think, okay, I'm also adding gas and this and that, all that stuff. It really is an insult to you that somebody's not valuing your craft. So you just have to train them. And unfortunately, training them usually means saying no. And I don't want to tell everybody exactly why my prices are the way they are. I'm not going to tell every single client a breakdown of how I came to my pricing, but let's say I times that by 10. So somebody wants a maternity shoot, and instead of it being $75, I tell them it's $750, which is really cheap, by the way. For $750, most of the time people will not even question why it costs that, because they saw a value in you, because you put a value on yourself first. If you don't tell people what you're worth, they're going to tell you what you're worth. And unfortunately, you're worth nothing in their eyes, except for a chance to get something for nothing. It's very difficult to even put a price on yourself, especially in the beginning. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a quick story that happened to me when I was discounting things. And this is a lesson that I learned the very difficult way. I had a client, a really nice lady, that made really good money with her business, and she wanted some photos for her and her business partner and her website and this and that. And she was a friend of a friend, and I was just trying to be that super nice guy. So I used to have two of these lenses, actually, two identical ones. I got them in a trade, and I got one in a trade and one came with a camera. And I thought, well, you know, it'd be good to have a backup if I ever do a wedding and I need a backup shooter, and I'm just handing my gear, and you know, I could have that extra lens so I could use it, and then so could they. Anyway, I'm on a photo shoot at a discounted rate, and I have this lens on my camera, or the one that was just like this. I go to switch lenses. I take this one off. I set it on the back of my trunk of my car, and somehow it slid off as I was changing out the lens. It slid off, fell to the ground, and busted. Now, this particular one is not a $100 one. These are about $500. So the photo shoot I was doing, I got paid $300 for. It was a discounted business shoot, and I was hooking up a friend of a friend, and it wasn't my client's fault that this fell and broke. It's just something that can happen on the job. It's something that you can't plan for unless you're charging accordingly, and then it's a acceptable loss. Now, had I had insurance on that gear at that time, which I didn't, I would have been paying, say, $25 a month for personal loss insurance, renter's insurance, camera gear, whatever. And I would have gotten that fixed for a relatively cheap price. I didn't have insurance on it. I took the loss. So how much money did I make for doing that photo shoot? Not counting all the time. I didn't make anything. I lost $500 because I did a discount. I did a photo shoot for $300, and that was calculating all my factors. Like, okay, well, I'm, this is going to take me an hour, that, whatever. I thought, oh, at $300, I'll make a couple of dollars. I'll be able to take my wife to dinner, and everybody's going to be happy. Until I broke this, or the one like it. And that was $500 out of my pocket. So I did the work. I got paid the $300, but I lost $500 of equipment. And that's something that you just can't plan for. And so I would recommend getting insurance on your gear and calculate that into your price. And that's the type of thing that you're going to find yourself while you're doing business. You can't explain to each client that potentially your stuff is going to get broken, whether it be from wear and tear or accidental droppage. But that happens, and that's how you start adding the prices and making them go up. So is $75 a good deal? It's not a good deal for you. It's not a good deal for your client, because your client's never going to be happy because they didn't have a value in what you did anyway. So when you deliver it and maybe the client, in their eyes, looks a little chubby, whatever it is, they didn't value anything from the get-go. They don't have anything invested. $75 isn't even going to take you and your partner to dinner at a regular restaurant. What's the point? Why would you do it? Why would you let a client devalue you? Listen, if you want to gain experience, just do stuff for free and build a portfolio, and just know that you're going to slowly update that stuff. And once you start charging, it doesn't matter if it's only $75. If you charge $75, you got to let them know this is not real pricing. And you got to let them know how extraordinary it is that they're getting that. Because if you just do it, then they're going to screw the next person and then the next person. There is no value in your photos. I really, really want you guys to put a value on yourself. And if you don't think that you're at the point where you could charge $750 for that photo shoot that they're offering $75, just do it for free. Trust me, at least you're letting them know that the value is in their friendship to you or something like that. Do not let them know you need $75 or whatever, because they're going to go to the next person and offer them $75, and then they're going to ask for more. They're going to want more, and it's never going to end. And slowly but surely, you trained the client that you have no value, and neither does anybody else. If this information helped you at all, please hit the like and subscribe button. I am trying to grow this YouTube channel, and it really is appreciated if you guys help support me by hitting that like button, subscribe, and if you would, please make a comment. Let's stir things up a little bit. Even if that comment is, Greg, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's your opinion. Thanks for sharing it with me. Peace.